I'm super excited. Thank you guys all for showing up. Like I said, if you have anything to say or any questions, feel free to use the chat. I will be reading it and answering questions as we go. Also, at the end, basically how this is going to work, I think it's only going to be about maybe 25, 30 minutes. I'm just going to get through my information, my notes that I have, and then when it ends, when I'm done, that's it. And then what I'm going to do is if you want to, at the end, unmute yourself and give any suggestions, comments, wisdom, questions, anything like that afterwards too, that's totally fine. We can open up the discussion. So I'm just going to give it like another minute because we still have people coming in and then we'll get started. So while I'm doing that, I really recommend grabbing a piece of paper and a pen because there's going to be a lot of good stuff in here that you won't want to forget. Sorry for everyone just joining. I'm muting everyone for now. And you can choose to have your video on or off, totally up to you. And I will get started here. Hey. All right, I think people stopped flooding in. I'm gonna mute everyone. Okay, so before I get into it, can everyone hear me and see me good? Thumbs up. Good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go into a little bit of why I'm doing this before I start. So when I first started hooping, I kept hearing the term finding your flow, finding my flow, things like that. Sorry, I'm still admitting people. I just want to make sure everyone's in here. All right. And I still hear, I hear people say that all the time. And when I first started hooping, I didn't really know what that meant. Like, what is a flow? Like, I don't understand really what that means to find my flow, or how will I know when I found my flow? Like, I didn't really understand that concept until a lot later. And I see a lot of people who ask, like, how do I find my flow? Or like, how do I flow? There seems to be not a lot of information on the internet. There seems to be like so many tutorials for different tricks and stuff like that, but not really information like about flowing. So I really was super excited to put all this information in here. I put a lot of thought into this from my knowledge and my experience and from my heart. So I'm super excited to share this. And I didn't really know how to organize all this, so I tried my best. So I'm sorry if it seems a little scattered, but either way, I hope that something resonates with you. And like I said, grab a pen and a piece of paper, and I'm just gonna start going into it now because I think most people are here. Yeah, it's about 7:05, so we're just gonna jump into it. So, what is flow? So I don't really know the true definition of what hula hoop flow is, but what I believe it to be is like connecting with your hoop and moving with your hoop. It doesn't really matter in what way, just as long as it feels good. And like I said, I feel like it's more about that connection. And what I'm going to talk about today is two different types of flow. So I'm just breaking flow down into two different categories. The first one is there's an interpretive flow. So you don't need to know any tricks. You don't need to know any transitions. You're kind of just holding your hoop, doing what feels good. And maybe it's a little awkward, or maybe it's not like very fancy, but you're moving around and you're just kind of doing what feels good. Kind of like you can compare it to stretching your body. Like you're just kind of stretching whatever feels like you need to stretch. It's not really yoga, but it's stretching, that's a good way to compare it. The other type of flow that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking more about this kind, is a kind that you could compare more to yoga, where in yoga, you have poses that you're holding and that you're hitting, and then you transition between them. And this kind of flow that I'm going to mostly be speaking about is tricks and transitions. Even if they're not fancy, even if it's just like on body hooping and just very, very simple things. That's the kind of flow that I'm going to be talking about, though, is more based around different moves and transitions. And even if you've never picked up a hoop before and you're here, Thank you for coming, and I hope that this helps you. I think it will. This is all stuff that I wish I would have known when I started. Sorry, admitting someone now. Okay. I just got to make sure they're muted, and then I'll jump right into it. Okay. So, everyone's flow is different, and you can only discover your own flow if you stop or are not comparing yourself to other people's flow. So I just want to start off by saying that. Remember also that there is a difference between comparing yourself and finding inspiration in someone, though. It's important to be to admire someone and appreciate them and find inspiration in them and still not compare yourself to them, because we are all different and that's totally okay. Sorry if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. But luckily, like if you're ever lacking inspiration, there's so many free resources on the internet that a lot of people in this community have put out there. Obviously like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook groups, everything like that. So if you're lacking inspiration, it's there for you to take. It's a give and take in this community. One last thing before I really get into this too is you don't have to have a dance background or gymnastics background to flow with a hoop, and you don't even have to know how to waist hoop. I know some really amazing hula hoopers that don't waist hoop. So there is off-body flow. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the hoop size that you're using will directly impact your flow. So if you're using a big hula hoop and with big tubing, the hoop is going to move very slow and it's going to be a lot more controlled. And if you're using a small hula hoop with thin, small tubing, it's going to be bouncy, it's going to move fast. So it just kind of depends on what you want, what kind of music you're flowing to, what you're feeling. If you're doing off body or on body, you want different hoops. So I always recommend to people to have a couple different hoop sizes to choose from so that you can kind of flow with different sizes and different speeds and stuff like that. So how to flow. If you take one move, so whether it just be waist hooping or an escalator or wedgies, you can flow with just one move. And I'm going to tell you how. So, sorry, I'm reading the chat real quick. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how. If you just know one move, or even if you don't yet, and you're just trying to focus on one move first, I think that's a great place to start. So, focus on that single move. Practice it, drill it until you understand it and can do it. I would find a trick that resonates with you and that's not super frustrating for you so that you can enjoy this process at first, especially when you're starting out. But like I said, explore that trick. So what I mean by explore is doing it over and over again and finding a rhythm to it. So try doing it really fast, try doing it really slow. Try doing it to music. So turn on a song and do that trick over and over again to the music. Try to be on the beat or, move with the fast parts and the slow parts. Try to slow down and go faster. If you really want to connect with your hoop on another level, you can turn off the music and you can practice drilling something to your breath. So try, inhaling when you're doing this part of it and then exhaling when you're doing the other part of it. You can explore the move on both sides of your body. So if you are waist hooping to the left, you can try waist hooping to the right. If you're doing escalators or something on your right hand, you can try to do it on your left hand. So that's another way of exploring that one trick is just, trying to connect with that trick, find rhythm with it, connect it with music or your breath, trying it on both sides of your body. You could reverse the move. So if it's a move that can be reversed, you can try to reverse it, such as weaves. If you're doing weaves, hold on. Okay, if you're doing forward weaves, you can try to think about how to reverse that move. So just really explore that one move. Another way to flow with just knowing one move, which is probably the most important thing, is taking up your space. So while you're doing this move, how can you move around the room? How can you turn your body? How can you, spin while you're doing this move? What happens if you spin while you're doing this move? What happens if you spin the other way if you're doing this move? What happens if you take some steps forward or backwards? Take up your space. I have a really small hooping space in my house, but I try to take up as much space as I can. If you're outside, yeah, way better. Take up space inside of your hoop. So while you're doing this one trick, whatever it is, look at what your body's doing. Where are your feet? What are your feet doing? What's your posture like? Are your shoulders up and uptight? Loosen up. What's your other arm doing while you're doing this trick? You know, are you standing still like a board, or are you kind of moving around? So think about what you're doing with the rest of your body. One thing to focus on is your facial expression, because when you're super focused on learning a move, sometimes your face looks like I don't know, like super uptight. So think about that. Try to be conscious of what the rest of your body and your head and your arm and your feet are doing while you're doing this move. Oh my God, my concentration face can be crazy. Yeah, and it sucks to like, maybe you're recording yourself and you go to watch it because you thought you like nailed this trick and your face like looks horrible because you're so concentrated. Yeah, totally understand. That still happens to me all the time. So that's just something to be conscious about. The more you think about kind of relaxing your facial expression and what you're doing with the rest of your body, the more that it's going to become like a habit. So just admitted someone, let me mute them. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Oh, they're already muted. Cool. So like if you practice a move and you practice moving your body while you're doing that move, when you add that move into your flow, you're already going to want to move your body. So your flow is just going to be super, I don't know the word, just super there already. Like even if you're just starting out, you're going to have all this muscle memory and good habits. So, all right, let's talk about adding another move in. So you have one move that you've practiced and explored up and down, and you know it super well, and you can do all this stuff while you're doing it, moving around and smile. Let's add in another move. So find another move. It doesn't matter what it is, any move that you feel drawn to, and do the same thing with that move, with that trick. Do the same thing, explore that trick. And then what I recommend doing is thinking to yourself, okay, how can I connect these two moves? So what I mean by that, before you go on YouTube and look up transitions or Instagram, sit there and when you end one move, look at where your hoop is and look at where your body is and think, how can I get to the starting position of that next move from here? A lot of my hoop practice is literally me standing there, just like thinking like, okay, what can I do now? Because I'm right here. What can I do from here if I move my body? And like I just kind of get wrapped up in my hoop and tangled up, and it's like an awkward mess, but you're getting somewhere if you're doing this, just trying to connect those two moves. So once again, you have a trick, find a transition that works for you or a few. And then, you know, you can always find inspiration online. I don't consider it stealing if you see someone doing something that you really want to do that resonates with you. It's movement. So if you want to do it, you know, do it. And, you know, find different ways to transition from that move to the other move. Let me look at my notes here. So when you have two moves and you have a transition or a few transitions, drill it into your brain. Because when you are flowing, when you are free flowing with these moves and these transitions, you're going to have all of these transitions and these moves in your back pocket to just pull right out when you're flowing. Hold on, gotta mute. Okay. So the more moves and transitions you drill, the more transitions and moves that you can just kind of pull out of thin air when you're flowing. So with that being said, combos. We need to practice combos. Drill different sequences into your brain. Learn as many as you can. So what I like to do when I first started hooping, I'm so glad that somebody told me this. Hold on. Oh, thank you. I really need to do that. I'm not very good with technology. Okay, thank you. I will figure that out here in a second. But so when I first started hooping, I was so glad that somebody taught me this little trick. So I knew about 5 moves at this point, and I wrote them all down on a piece of paper, and I cut them all out, and I put all those little papers into a bowl or a hat. and you mix them up and you pick like 3 of them and you put them down and you look at the first one and you look at the second one and third one and you try to transition your own way, figuring out your own transitions from this move to this move to this move. So that really helped me. And the more that you do that, the more transitions that you find, the more dynamic you will be and have more options. So you're not doing the same thing over and over again. Yes, they have blank playing cards on Amazon. Actually, somebody makes these cards. Somebody makes these flow combo cards. I don't know. I forgot who it was. Check that out if you guys are interested. Yes, Hoop Therapist. Thank you. I believe that they're called combo cards. All you guys all knew. Yes. So that is an awesome way to create little combos and find your own. There you go. Thank you for linking that. Finding your own transitions. And like I said, memorizing a bunch of transitions, a bunch of different combos. So now that you have all of these transitions and moves in your back pocket to pull out, you can choose your next move while you're flowing, and it almost becomes mindless. You don't think about it when you have these things practiced. Your body, your muscle memory will remember them, and you can kind of just choose which direction to go, what you're feeling in the moment or with the music or whatever. So with that being said, well, for example, whenever I do a chest roll, I have like 3 or 4 different ways that I like to get out of my chest roll. So when I'm just flowing to the music, I do a chest roll and I pick one real quick in my brain, and it's like mindless. Like I don't think about it, and you won't either if you just have these practiced, and you just pick which transition you want to do. And then the next move, same thing. You just got to kind of practice these different things and explore all these moves to the point where this is drilled into your head. So that's kind of, I compare this to yoga because it really is similar, and it is very meditative as well, just to kind of flow from move to move or pose to pose in yoga. So remember to breathe like they do in yoga. Remember to breathe while you're hooping because your muscles need it, and it will definitely restrict your flow if you are not breathing properly. Sometimes, remember that concentration phase we were talking about? Sometimes when you're super concentrated, you're not really breathing. And then you're kind of restricting yourself and you're really tense. So it's really good to practice being very loose. And obviously holding on to your hoop, don't be too loose, but very just relaxed body, language and facial expression, and remembering to breathe. Focusing on breathing really helps you connect with your hoop while you're moving around with your hoop. So I hope that any of that helps you. That's a lot of the good information that I have on flowing. So really focusing on one move and then finding transitions into other moves and keep practicing different combos. And like I said, you can literally just flow even if you only know one thing. Just explore that move around your room, see what you can do with the rest of your body, see if you can do it on both sides, dance around while doing that move, and that's literally flow. Like I said, there's another kind of flow where it's very interpretive, and that's a really good way to find your own weird moves that no one else does, is if you just turn on a song, you just chill out, just do what feels right, even if it's not pretty and it's really awkward and you're dropping your hoop or you're getting like tangled in your hoop and it's just kind of, I don't know, not really pretty or ready for performance. Just kind of doing what you feel, and you'll find your own crazy transitions and moves. So with all that being said, I want to talk about how to progress fast. I get this question a lot, and muscle memory works when you're sleeping. So you might not get something in one day. You shouldn't over drill. You shouldn't drill until your muscles are sore and you're hurting, because then you can't practice it the next day. And sometimes maybe the next day and the next day and the next day. So your muscle memory isn't really working because you're not being consistent. So it's a lot better to practice for, 15 minutes a day, the same move, rather than doing it for hours, because you're not overworking your muscles and you're just kind of placing that in your muscle memory and getting those muscles moving, doing the motion, and then you sleep on it and you come back the next day. You will find that you will progress faster that way. Don't force yourself to try to learn something all in one day. It is not good for your muscles. I have hurt myself bad doing that. So yes, consistency is key. You needed to hear that? Good. I needed to hear that multiple times. And I'm glad that I can be here to tell you. Sometimes I am still bad at that, because I know that it's easy to get so caught up trying to do a certain move. When you start feeling like that, stop and do something different. You don't have to put your hoop down, but do a different move, so that you're not using the exact same muscles or muscle groups and you're not like overworking them. Don't hurt yourself. And I don't have too much else to say. So this was really short and sweet and to the point. But one last note that I would like to end on is flow isn't always as perfect as it looks on Instagram. So you will always mess up. And I don't mean to sound negative. That is not a negative thing. You just don't have to have this false narrative in your head that there are people out there that don't mess up, because even the best hula hoopers mess up. And your success rate of moves are never going to be 100%. There's always things that are going to happen. And if you feel frustrated, like I said, if you feel frustrated, maybe you should put your hoop down. Maybe you should move on to something else, because you don't want your practice to get clouded with the negativity. You know, you don't want to like look at your hoops from across the room and think, ugh, like you want to like still have a good time with it. So if you start feeling frustrated, like there's literally times where I want to throw my hoop, and sometimes I do. And that's when I know I need to take a chill pill. Like I need to put my hoop down and I need to go drink some tea or something. Like sometimes it's just not the right time. So allow yourself to recognize that. Yes, 15, 20 minutes, songless, something, so that you're not like overdoing it. But yeah, it's allow yourself to recognize when your body's hurting or when your mind is not up for your practice that day. Yes, it's okay to throw your hoop and then chill. If you break your hoop, that is on you though. But yeah, guys, so I want to, if anyone has any questions or any comments or wisdom, I know that the group chat has been going for a minute, but you guys can feel free to unmute yourselves and say anything if you want to add any wisdom into this.
Well, I just wanted to ask, like, do you have a particular like stretching routine that you do before? Because yeah, like I feel like it's important to do, stretches before you go trying to hoop and drill, because you can like hurt yourself otherwise.
Yes, I always stretch. I just stretch what feels good to stretch. Like there's a few stretches that I always consistently do. But some days when I feel like maybe I, need to stretch my back more or whatever, I'll do that. I don't really have like anything specific that I do. I literally just do the typical, like put your legs out and reach. And I will do it like I'll put on a song and I'll do a few songs of just stretching. So maybe like, 7 or 8 minutes of just stretching before I hoop. I love stretching, and I stretch after I hoop too. So, and there's stretches out there that you can do with your hoop. I don't know if there's any YouTube videos for it. Yes, use your hoop to stretch. So I have been to some workshops where it was a lot of stretching with your hoop. Like it's crazy. I've tried making up my own stretches with my hoop and practically breaking my hoop doing that. But anyone else have any other questions or comments? Concerns? Wisdom? Experimenting with hoop sizes has really helped me get moves I couldn't previously get. Yes, I feel so. There's some moves that I can only do with certain sizes of hoops. So that's why I like to have different sizes. Waist hooping is more fun, I think, on bigger hoops, and it's a lot slower and controlled on bigger hoops. But when you move to smaller and smaller, it's a lot faster and it's like more of a workout kind of in your core. So, I mean, it just depends on what you're going for. And also, there's some moves that I do not do with big hoops because, or thick tubing, because I have totally gave myself bloody noses and stuff. Like nose hooping, I will only use very small hoops with thin tubing because I have totally, totally hurt myself. This is really great. You're totally telling us everything we need to hear to get everything we need to do to get flowing. Thank you. Yay. Thank you, Stuart. I'm so glad that you're enjoying this. Kylie taught me the vortex. I could not get it until I used the bigger hoop and eventually could get it on my 30. Yeah. If just, I've tried some thick tubing hoops for nose hooping and really gave myself bloody noses before. So be conscious of that as well. But you will get frustrated and sometimes you will hurt yourself, but it's part of the process. Is there anyone else that has anything to say before I sign off?
So say you just kind of lose your flow for a while, like you're just not feeling it, and do you have a certain way you find you're able to kind of get back into it? Or
Yes. So actually recently I've been going through that. What I've been doing, because my flow, today I felt okay, but for about 3 weeks, this past 3 weeks, I haven't really felt connected to my flow very, very much. I don't know why. And this isn't the first time this happened, and it's not going to be the last. But I think an important thing is to still pick up your hoops, do what you can. And even if your flow just isn't working out and you're not feeling connected, maybe just do an organized practice. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but just write down some things that you're working on and maybe just elbow hoop, pass it, do maybe some simple things and just kind of, you don't need to force the flow, but maybe just kind of practicing little things that you're working on. That's what I do. I kind of just turn to a more organized thing. I've totally been feeling like that recently, but it goes away. This happens. It happens all the time. You go up and then you plateau, like as far as your flow, I feel like up and then plateau again. So, but you never get worse. If you keep practicing, you can only get better. You're not going to get worse. So keep that in mind. You might stay stagnant for a little bit, but you'll always get better if you keep going. All right. Anyone else? It's like the seasons. Yes. I was feeling kind of weird and I posted about it on Facebook and someone was like, Mercury's in retrograde. And I was like, oh no, I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. I think it's really affecting me.
Hi.
Hi.
I've done a lot of practicing with my beginner hoop, which is like a 38 outside diameter.
Mhm.
And I just recently gotten the Polypro. Now I've gone from a 38 to a 32.
Mhm.
Okay. And when I approach my hooping, I'm approaching it from twirling batons.
Okay.
So I have a lot of baton twirling in my history. So, I'm able to do a lot of the tricks, but the problem is now with my waist hooping, when I use the smaller hoop, trying to do the waist hooping, I get about 3 or 4 rotations around my waist, and then it just starts dropping around my hips and sits down there. Did I not get the waist hooping? I mean, I was able to do the waist hooping with the larger hoop and being able to bring it up and over your head and breaks back and forth and stuff like that. But now with the smaller hoop, the lighter hoop, I can't keep it around my waist. I don't even want to try my chest.
Yeah. So when you downsize, it is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to on-body hoop with smaller hoops. What I would really suggest for you, since you were used to that 38, I would get you said 38, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I just brain farted. Okay. So I would get a 37 in Polypro.
Uh-huh.
And what I would do is work on the 37. And literally there is YouTube videos on how to downsize your Polypro hoops. Downsize it an inch. Once you are super comfortable with the 27, downsize it an inch or a half an inch or whatever. It's super
Okay.
easy. It's just these cutters. It's like scissors for tubing. You have to like measure it. There's videos on YouTube that tell you how to do this. You measure it, take a little bit off, and you literally just drill a hole so that you can connect it again. And
Okay.
I would downsize every time you get super comfortable and you practice with it for a couple weeks or whatever, and you get it.
Okay. I see.
Downsize,
I
downsize.
see.
Yeah, because sometimes if you make too big of a jump, your body the muscle memory doesn't translate from the big hoop to the smaller hoop.
Yeah, because I'm enjoying the fact that I'm able to do figure eights and around the world like I would do with twirling and stuff like that. I'm able to toss it now,
Yeah.
and I can do my elbows. I mean, it takes a little bit of work because I'm used to doing it with the bigger hoop. But when it comes to the actual waist, but that's a good idea to cut it down, because my thing is the expense. That's why it's taken me so long to, getting the 20% off from Autumn site,
Mm-hmm.
getting the Polypro.
Yes.
So
I think it's a really great idea or thing that you have that smaller hoop though, because like you're saying, there's things that you can do with that hoop that you can't do with the bigger hoop. So it's good to still have that hoop to practice the, off body tricks. But for the on body, like I said, get a bigger Polypro and then just keep downsizing as you become more comfortable with that.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.
You are so welcome. Thank you. Just bought the cutters and rivet from Home Depot. They were about $30. Yes, I got mine from Home Depot too. It's not bad, and I downsize my hoops here and there, so it's totally worth it. Hi, Kitty. Is there anything else anyone would like to add or ask? We're good? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope that I said something at least that resonated with you. I really appreciate you guys all coming, and I'm so grateful that we were able to do this today. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. All right, guys, have a great night.